On this video, we're going to be discussing what are the licensing requirements for short-term rental operators. Welcome, my beautiful people. Fernando David here, and this video is in response to a question that I got from one of my viewers. The question was, Fernando, do I need a license to operate as a short-term rental operator? My response to that was very general, and it was simply do a Google search. And the reason I responded that way is because the answer to that is very complex. And I'm going to apologize to some of my viewers if I'm brief in general. It's for a reason. It's because, number one, I don't have the time to answer every question. If you want specific answers to specific questions that I don't respond on the platform, just DM me. I am part of several apps. For example, those that subscribe to my Instagram, I do set time aside for them on a weekly basis to answer specific questions that require in-depth answers. Also, I'm on an app called Minute, M-I-N-U-T. You can go on there and schedule a meeting with me as well. But sometimes it's going to require that I do videos like this because several people have asked, what are the requirements to be a short-term rental operator? Now, I'm going to start with the basic. If you're going to operate your property and you're going to start a business managing properties that you own, then you're going to need one of the following. The first thing you're going to need, depending on where you live, is you need to check with your city, county, and state to see what licensing requirements are for short-term rentals. In many cases, especially as time goes on, this is going to be the norm. You're going to have to get an operator's license. So for example, in the state of Florida, you're going to have to get a license through DBPR, which is the Department of Licensing in the state of Florida. And then depending on what county or city you're in, you may need be required to get either a county tax ID, and if you're in a city that requires a occupancy license, then you need to get that as well. So right off the bat, depending on where you live, you might be required to get 3 licenses. That's if you're going to manage your properties. Now let's say somebody calls you and they want you to manage their property. Now here again is going to, let me backtrack. Also, if you're going to manage your property, depending on your state, if you're going to do like long-term leases, they may be some licensing requirement there. Let's say somebody calls you or you decide to manage other people's property. In some states, that is defined as a property manager. So I'm going to go down the list of the states in alphabetical order. So I'm going to try to do this fast. But again, you can Google this. In the states which requires a license, either a property management license, a real estate license, or both. Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, all require a person that's going to manage someone else's property to have a real estate license. Now, the reason why you need to have a real estate license is because in these states, and many more, we're going to continue, in order to do a lease, you're going to have a license. Let's continue. Next, the District of Columbia, you need a property management license, different than the ones I just mentioned, which is a real estate license, a broker's license. In Florida, Georgia, Hawaii, you need a broker's license if you're going to do leases, right? If you're going to manage other people's properties. But also, you may be required to get an HOA license or a CAM license if you're going to manage people's property in addition to managing their HOAs. I'm not going to get into the weeds there, but understand that they may be an additional requirement, a property management requirement, depending on the amount of properties you are managing. Idaho, you don't need anything. Illinois, you need a broker's license. Indiana, Iowa, broker's license, a real estate license. Kansas, you don't need anything. Kentucky, Louisiana, you need a broker's license. Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, you don't need anything. Michigan, Minnesota, Mississippi, Missouri, you need a broker's license. Montana, you need a property manager's license. Nebraska, Nevada, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, North Carolina, North Dakota, Ohio, Oklahoma, you need a broker's license. Oregon, you need a property manager's license or a broker's license, one or the other. Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, broker's license. South Carolina, South Dakota, property manager's license. Tennessee, Texas, Utah, broker's license. Vermont, nothing. Virginia, Washington, West Virginia, Wisconsin, and Wyoming, broker's license. okay? All those states that I mentioned, you either need a broker's license or a property management license if you're going to manage other people's properties. If you're only doing yours, you don't need any of that. There may be some caveat in some specific states in which if you're going to do leases, but if it's your property, meaning you own it, you don't. The only license that you're going to need, again, depending on the state and city or county, is going to be either an occupancy license or a professional license. For example, the Department of Business and Professional Licensing, like in the state of Florida, you're going to need those type of licenses. But remember, people, this is the beauty of the internet. Everything is searchable. Again, I've had people say what's a little confusing. What's confusing about it is the following. You need to be different or determine what type of manager you're going to be. Again, if it's your property, you don't need a property management license because it's your property that you're managing. But you're still going to be required to have a city, maybe required to have a city, county, or a state license. When you're most likely going to have a license is when you're going to manage other people's property. Hope this information was useful. If it was, hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Follow me on Instagram. Love you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.